right. Okay, so we're recording and hey,
Hey,
how you
that's
doing?
just, yeah, I'm all
You,
right. Had a little bit of a rough morning, but I'm okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was I was saying to Mel in her video how it's always kind of funny with this community where there's not a lot of attitude with people. So when you have a conversation with someone, it tends to be uh pretty friendly and pretty open. So
Yeah.
when you actually see somebody in person, it almost feels like you've already been talking
Oh, absolutely.
for
I totally feel that too. Like coming at the end of the month, I've got 4 or 5 friends that are from this community that I've met over the years through Tops they're coming to stay at my house for a week. Oh,
oh
did I
wow.
lose you?
And then
Yeah.
have you guys ever hung out before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We did it last year, and we've met at some like top conventions. I've had a couple of them over to learn how to make some things with Tops, or just to hang out. And so last year we decided to really just kind of plan it all together and get together. And now we're probably going to try to do it every year. So I mean,
Really?
I totally get what you're saying about talking with these people online through Facebook and through the groups, and then you're just like, these are literally like my best friends. I want to like see these people, and so I mean that's really what we've done. And then they truly are like just the best people ever.
It's
It's
almost
really
it
seems
sounds
like
almost
you've
like a
known them
gaming
forever when you
community.
finally get to see people face to face.
Right. It almost sounds like with gamers. Like when
Yeah,
gamers
oh,
get together
absolutely.
and then they hang out because you're
Yep,
and that I guess is even a bit more of a connection because you're talking through headsets all the time and
yep,
stuff.
yep, absolutely.
So what do you guys do? What's a hangout when you get
Um,
together?
so we'll spend some time in the shop doing, I don't know, just something, messing with the lathes, either making tops or scepters, or they'll kind of help me with my creative process. We'll shoot guns, literally just hang out, mess with our collections, go out and get lunch. I mean, literally, it's like a guy's retreat, just like a total
Wow.
hangout. Um, we invited Mel actually this
Oh
year.
yeah.
Um, didn't work out, or she's not gonna be able to come. We did it where it's right before Blade Show in Atlanta, so like it's
Okay.
kind of dual purpose. We're all gonna hang out here and then go down there on Friday.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be a good time.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
That's really cool. Okay, well let's start from the start. So I try to keep kind of a very loose structure so that I can kind of carry us through a conversation. And as much as I want to know about you, I know there's a much larger crowd than just me that loves to get to know the makers of products.
yeah,
Or
sure.
and in your case, you're kind of a double threat because you
Yeah,
make products
yep,
and you run a channel,
yep,
right?
yep.
So
It's kind of a little
uh,
weird. There's not a lot of people doing both,
both.
and I don't really have them. They're kind of parallel, but they don't really mix together much either. Like tops aren't really
I noticed
kits
that.
that you bring around all over the place, and honestly, the customer base is pretty split. Like there's a little bit of overlap between the two groups, but like it's not a lot. Um, so I don't really tend to, on the YouTube channel, talk about tops and scepters very much. And then my Facebook group for tops, I don't talk about fidgets at all, except for maybe they're like, oh, I made these buttons for a spinner or something, simple like that. There's really not a lot of, yeah, cross interest.
So and there's almost a duality with that, right? Like you're when I was looking at, so of course, when I'm going to talk to somebody, I sort of go back and
Yeah,
research as much as I
yeah,
can.
yeah,
And it is really interesting that there are two um like two Gavins, right? Like
a little bit, yeah.
in a way, right? Like there's the YouTuber that I first met. Actually, what's funny is I first found out about you because I had gotten a pig coin for Christmas and I
Okay.
bought it off of somebody used.
A lot of people found me through that video. Yeah,
Dude, yeah,
that's
and
one of my most popular. Just like people are like, I get messages and comments are like, "Wow, this is how it works. Thank you so much." Like, and now it's so much better. Like that. Just yeah, that one video. It's interesting.
yeah, it was the one video and it was eye-opening and I found what it did, which was great for someone like me, is that it kind of removed the barrier and the fear of opening up something like that, right?
Okay.
Because until
Yeah.
then you think like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
shit, I don't want to go near this thing. I don't know what's going to come flying out.
Yep.
I've seen like horrible results of people messing with stuff. Um, And just as a father of 2 kids over the years, you know that if you open certain things, they break.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
getting to your video was actually it was great, and that was kind of my start into, okay, don't just play with these things, but you can open them up and you can look at them, and as long as you have the right tools. I want to take a step back for a second to find out, so what is it you do? Because I know there's a crossover between the tops. I mean, clearly you're that's your shop and your home, right?
Yeah.
So what is your profession? Because
I
people
mean,
don't just like fall into, oh, I'm gonna get all this equipment and machinery and make tops.
you maybe define profession in the classical sense. Like I went to college for commercial photography. Um,
Okay.
and I did that for a while. I did it right out of college, worked in a couple ad agencies, did some freelancing, and I don't know, I just kind of got burned out on it. Like I think it was a passion before, like right out of high school. You know, I got like a nice camera and I just love taking pictures. It was truly a hobby, and I wanted to, in high school, I decided I wanted to make a career out of it too. So it kind of went from there. And as I went through college and kind of went through all those motions and then got settled into a career, it just kind of, I don't know, I lost the passion. The only time I actually use my DSLR is whenever I take top photos. And I have a small little closet that's got a light photo box set up with strobes, and it just stays there. The camera stays in there, and it's literally pick it up, same settings, click, done, like
And that's it.
every
Yeah.
time. That's all I care to do with like my professional photo skills anymore. Like I just don't, I don't know, I'll do like senior pictures for family, or like I've done a couple weddings for friends recently, but still it's like pulling my teeth to
Well,
do
there is a thing.
those I love. Like I just don't. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you went from photography, and then how did we go from photography to everything
Okay.
that's behind you?
So when I was at the photography job, one of my last ones, I don't have the first top I ever found out here with me, but I just found a picture of a top through like a. I was kind of collecting knives. Like I've always thought knives are cool. Like I think maybe a lot of people have like flipper knives, especially.
Yeah, I just got
So,
into it from watching Kevin's
okay.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So I was on Instagram just browsing like EDC pocket dump photos, and I saw I think it might have been a Lambda top. I don't know if you know what those are. Those are some of like the first like true precision spinning tops, and I was like, oh,
Okay.
that's kind of cool. So I like followed the hashtags, went down the rabbit hole, and kind of I think made my way to Pocket Top Talk on Facebook group, or it's a Facebook group. It's probably like the main hub for tops, and that was in like early 2015, and like I just kind of fell in love with them while at the same time falling out of love with photography. So with the photography job, I was only collecting tops, like really just thought they were neat. I only had probably 3 or 4. And okay, backtrack a little. After quitting photography job, my dad's always had a used car lot, or did in the car business.
Okay.
So I worked there for a little bit in the meantime, like between quitting photography and making tops my career. So I was working there for a little bit, like selling cars, kind of doing daily managing stuff. And as I was collecting the tops, I kind of got the itch to, just want to make them.
Right.
Kind of spin around real fast, and I bought tiny lathe, little red one right here. So I bought a used one off of eBay, and I self-taught machining. That's really how I got started.
So
Just
is
make
this
them.
like is this your main income now, is making
Yeah.
tops?
Yep. Since 2000.
So you actually live off of making top. That's amazing.
Yep. Absolutely. So I was at the car lot after the photography stuff, and I was, teaching myself on the weekends or after work just how to make tops. And I don't know, it was about 8, 9, 10 months into it. Like I was starting to ask my dad for days off through the week so I could stay home and like machine, because people wanted to buy the tops that I was making. And like I was starting to see like I could actually make some money doing this, because I was progressing pretty quickly. I was working with cool materials. The social media side was growing really quicker than I thought, but I guess I kind of just, I don't know, being in my age, I'm 32, like Facebook was just kind of easy, like just,
Right.
I don't know. So I just posted what I was doing, and the group just kept growing and growing.
Wow.
So kind of talked to my dad and was like, I think I'm gonna quit working here and see like where this goes. So yeah, it was about a year after I started making tops, I got the bigger lathe. I've actually got two of the bigger lathes, but I bought the first one, and pretty much at that moment I was like, I'm doing this, and yeah.
So, okay, so I didn't realize this was like your main source of income. So
Yep.
now I notice you do on the group, you'll do drops and stuff.
Yep.
But is it like does your income work on a drop basis, or do you sell these steady, or is it like, okay, this month
Well,
here we go, here's the nut
yeah,
for this
yeah.
month?
So I used to be a lot more, I guess, productive. Um, this is gets complicated because it my health intermingles with it pretty much. Like, and now like I've got Crohn's disease, and it got really bad around the time I actually started making tops. So like I had times where I could be really productive. I even had years where I was productive. But then like nowadays I'm not making as many per week. Like it was between like 5 and 7 before, so almost like at least the top a day, like through a work week. And now it's,
Okay.
I don't know, I might do 2 to 4, maybe 5 a week now. And so I've slowed down. So like yeah, my income is still based on however many tops or things I make and sell. I don't keep inventory. I don't take orders. I really just kind of make and sell as I go. Yeah.
Wow. So you can kind of control your
Hmm.
lifestyle in a sense, right? It's like
Yeah,
if
pretty
Christmas is
much.
coming up and you're like, oh shit, okay,
Yeah,
time to
yeah,
like double
absolutely.
up production.
Definitely have
And
times like that. Yeah.
because there's no, I'm assuming, and from what I've seen in the group, like there's never a lack of a customer for your stuff. Like people just
It
buy
doesn't
it.
seem like it.
Right.
No, like I'm really really thankful for my group. Like it's grown. It's grown a lot, and I have a large number of repeat customers that have been coming back just year after year after year. They're awesome. Like I feel really secure in being able to sell some of my stuff. I mean, like almost, I don't know, they make it easy. It's really great group members. The top communities, I mean, they're awesome.
So for people that are just, I mean, on the off chance that someone's just stumbling onto this and they've never heard of tops and they've never heard of you, what does it what is an average cost of a top and a
So for me,
scepter?
it's probably, oh, a scepter, very different. But
Okay.
for a top, it's probably in like the mid to high 200s is probably like my average price range.
Okay.
I do choose to use pretty exotic materials,
Right.
and I really like to push the finishing, like to really really polish. So I don't know. I have a lot of time in each top that I make. Like something I didn't make this one personally, but like this is just like a simple one piece copper top. One of my friends made this one. I taught him to make tops a while back, but
Okay.
something like this is, I mean, they're like $100 just for like a simple copper one, just like handmade single piece 1 inch copper. And then I've got this one that I made yesterday that's made of zircuti and zirconium, and it's all mirror polish. It's a larger
Right.
diameter. Doesn't spin too good, so this one's gonna be up there in like that high 200 range. Um,
So for somebody, and this is one of the reasons that I wanted to kind of start these interviews, and the whole idea of the channel is there is almost always sticker shock when people first enter into this, right? And yet now I'm completely unfazed. When you said that, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like a, it's like kind of like a
oh yeah.
quality and slider or whatever.
Mhm.
So for somebody that goes, holy shit, mid $200 for a little spinning
Oh,
top
absolutely. I've heard
toy,
it so many
what
times.
goes into the making that? Like how much of your time and material
Yep.
and effort goes into that? Because I feel like a lot of times
Mhm.
the price actually doesn't even reflect the effort. Meaning if you actually charge for your effort, these things would be way more expensive, but then it couldn't sustain itself.
Yep.
So what goes into making a top?
Oh man. So I mean, you start with a raw bar material. It's literally just bar stock. I've got all different kinds over there. And I guess it depends if it's going to be a one piece or a two piece. A one piece top is literally just kind of
All the
you're
same thing.
you're carving. Yeah, you're
Right.
literally just you're carving on a wave, making a shape. You have to maintain the precision throughout and make sure like nothing bends and that every cut you make is on the same center axis and same concentricity. Because if say you make a cut and then it bends, and then you make a further cut, you're now working with two different axes, right?
Right.
Been cut, and then that what induces imbalance. So every step has to be concentric. From
Now,
every single time the blade touches the metal and makes a cut.
So you mentioned whether it's a one piece or a two piece. What makes you decide that? Like,
Usually the materials that I'm using. So like this one's copper, so it's relatively cheap. And then just example, I've got this Zircuitai one here. If
right,
I were to make a one-piece Zircuitai top that's an inch and a quarter in diameter, I would have to waste so much material to get down to the stem size. So
right,
it
right, right.
works really good to do a thin piece of the Zircuitai and then put it on a smaller bar stock of zirconium. So it's inch and a quarter Zircuitai and then a half-inch rod of zirconium that are being married together as one piece and then turned as one.
See, I never thought of that. So that's an amazing point then that I'm sure a lot of people don't realize is for you to make this, if you made it all one piece, you're literally using like a block.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
And
you
I've
have
done
to
it sometimes, and I charge just as such for it because I could make like 6 tops out of that one piece
have
sometimes.
that one block. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
That's
Yep. I don't
yeah.
know.
Okay.
It's something
And
else
then
that
how
doesn't
much
happen.
time? Like,
I'd say if I'm really okay from raw materials, if I'm making say one of these two-piece tops, I would say I probably have like 6 to 7 hours in it from the time it's raw materials to entirely finished, ready for photos. Um, I'd say that's probably the timeline realistically.
so yeah, so that's your time, which is about 8 hours, and that's not counting any of the materials itself. It's
Yep.
not counting the
Yep. Pretty much.
investment of the machines, right? So
Yep. Yep.
when you think about
And
like a
taking
mid
the
two hundred
photos and
dollars,
doing the testing.
yeah, like
Hmm.
for so when you think like a mid $200, I mean that's barely covering your costs, right? Like you,
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah,
On some metals, like there's more like higher margins on some metals than others. Like the exotic stuff is, I don't know. I think it's really mixed, honestly, on my margins because I like to keep the pricing fair. But like some materials, even if they're cheaper, they take so much more time to finish or get to a mirror polish in relation
right.
to like Makume. It's really really soft, so like you can turn the lathe up really fast, burn through the couple grits of sandpaper, and then like 10 minutes later, you're looking at mirror polish if it's just like a nice flat surface. But if you were to do that same process on like Timascus or Zircuitai, or even like tungsten or something, you're sanding on it. Like tungsten example is sometimes the same surface. Like if it was Makume compared to tungsten, same sandpaper, same sanding speeds. Like I mean, 10 minutes versus almost like 50 minutes to an hour just to get the same surface finish using the same methods.
And
So
that's
like,
all done with machine though, right? Like that's not
yeah,
you standing there holding
no,
the
no. So it's still mounted in the lathe and spinning, and
okay.
I'm holding sandpaper and yeah,
But that's
yep.
a lot less you can do then if you're occupying the machine for almost an
Mhm.
hour to sand
Oh
one
yeah,
piece.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's part of my. I spend probably almost as much time sanding and polishing as I do actually machining each top. It's pretty equal, give or take. Yeah.
What's your favorite material to work with? Like is
Anyway,
there a material? What's that?
uh, actually, probably zirconium. That's probably my favorite metal to turn on the lathe and to sand, polish, flame. It's I don't know. There's just something about it. It's soft, but not as soft as copper, which is kind of a pain in the ass because it can be. It lacks rigidity. I guess is what's the issue with copper. So zirconium is soft, but it's still rigid enough to be kind of aggressive on without throwing it out of whack. It sands relatively easily, so you can even if you kind of make a mistake machining, you can sand over it and smooth it out like easier than like titanium or steels. Um, you have so many variations in how it can be finished. There's in its raw state, it's a silver color, and when you flame it, it goes through a whole color spectrum before it gets to black. I think that's something that screensaver turned on. Weird. Um, yeah, most people think zirconium is just black. I think, but it's a full rainbow of colors throughout the color spectrum and the heat spectrum before it gets to black, and it's
So
raw state silver. Yep.
is that what makes it so much more valuable than like steel and stainless steel? Because
Um,
anytime a slider or fidget, you have the difference between steel and zirconium, of course, and everybody wants Zirc, right? Everyone's like, oh yeah, full Zirc, full Zirc.
seems like it. Yep.
And yet I don't think anybody, or I shouldn't say anybody, but
Mm,
I certainly couldn't tell anybody why I want full Zirc. I just know it's a bit lighter. It sounds a bit different,
yep.
but I don't know. It's kind of like the difference between a ruby and a diamond. Like, why
Yeah,
is
it's
one worth more?
I think it might be a little bit rarer of a metal, and then here in America too, it's a more regulated metal because it can be used, like, I don't know a whole lot about it, but like in nuclear reactors and some things like that to do with like nuclear and radioactive materials. So like it's pretty regulated here in America. So when we buy it here, it's usually been like certified and like authorized through all kinds of crap, and it does carry a price tag along with it. I only found this out recently because I was talking with some of the Chinese makers, and they're like, "Why is your zirconium so expensive?" And that's what we ended up coming to our conclusion, because over there it's not really regulated or anything. They just make it. It's almost as comparable in price to titanium, but a little more. Maybe like 10-20% more or something.
Okay.
But over here, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's a lot more in relation to like titanium or steel.
So where do you even get zirconium? Like you just
I
go to
get
the
it
store?
from Yeah, I get it from a supplier that's American Metal Exchange. He does like a lot of knife supplies. We're usually just selling just metals. And he sells the certified, like authorized zirconium. He also does the uncertified stuff, and I've tried it recently, and it seems just fine. I'm assuming he's just getting it from China directly, and then being a middleman and just selling it to us here. And it's definitely at a discounted price than the certified stuff. So I mean, it's literally just the American certification and extra regulations that are on zirconium that give us an even more increased price.
Okay, so talking about zirconium, then you had mentioned that, and this had sort of shocked me when I first saw, like when I first read about it, and then I saw it happening, that it's silver,
Yep.
right? Like it's silver before somebody does something to it.
Yep.
And I think watching, there was one of your top videos where you were actually flaming
Hmm.
one of the tops.
Yeah, I think it was a little stem or something that posted on
Yeah,
YouTube, right? Yep.
and that's the first time I've actually and this was like a while ago, but that was the first time I actually saw the process. So that was kind of that was a shock because
Yeah, for sure.
I just assumed it showed up black, right? Because I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know, the Zirc,
pretty
all
much.
these Zirc things are black.
That's the most common, assumption. Absolutely.
I wonder why. I wonder why that became the thing. Like, who would have thought to go, well, it's silver, it looks cool on its own, but I'm going to flame
Yeah.
it and then make it black, and then that becomes the theme
Yeah.
of Zirc,
Yep.
like
I think
black.
it might come back to like the science of the like radioactive nuclear stuff that being used, and it became known that it did that or something. Like, 'cause
Oh,
I don't
that's
know
interesting.
why, like, I don't know why some maker would just be like, zirconium might be cool to try. Like, like I
Yeah.
can't imagine why. I don't know, because it's not lighter or stronger or titanium or steel. Like, it's right in the middle. Like, I literally just use it because it's easy to machine and it finishes great. Like, it doesn't have
Actually,
any like.
somebody
Hmm?
somebody reached out to me and actually told me that they had been recording the difference, the decibel levels between Zirc and steel and tungsten, and that
Hmm.
Zirc has a really interesting frequency range. When it clicks, it does almost like a higher piercing.
Definitely does. Yep. I've
Yeah,
noticed
and
that too.
okay, so you have, right? So yeah, so there is something about that particular metal that resonates a little differently than other metals,
Yep, certainly.
which is, and I actually find that sometimes hard. Like I have this pod, like the pod
Hmm.
2, and I can't use it in the house very much because if
Yeah.
I use it in this room with hardwood, that thing echoes everywhere and my ears start to hurt.
Yep. So I've got pretty damaged ears. I've got tinnitus, like my ears ring, like a dang flashbang has gone off or something. Like,
Okay.
it's pretty bad. So like really loud fidgets, I don't allow myself to have or keep anymore. I've sold quite a few over the years that have been too loud,
Well,
simply.
and I'm also just not, I mean, and it's interesting because you do hear a lot of people who like a really loud
Hmm.
crack, and
Yep.
I never have. Like I always like that middle range. I
Hmm.
don't like the feeling necessarily of tape. Like I find it kind of it
Yeah.
muddles it a little bit. Like it makes it feel a little softer.
Hmm.
But I also don't like a loud snap. Like I don't like a super loud
Yeah. I don't
snap.
want my eardrum to bottom out. Like, that's what
Yeah.
some of them literally do. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Just to switch gears for a second, one of the things I've said is I love watching your machining videos because there's something so soothing about it. And
Definitely. Yep.
I'm gonna kind of bridge sort of two parts because
Yep.
everything about your channel I find is soothing, because not only is like, and it's so weird because um the different dynamics in the environment. So there's this machining, like metal,
Mhm.
loud, everything, and yet somehow that's soothing. And then there's like your rambling videos where you're like walking through what I can only assume is somewhere out near your backyard or something.
Yeah,
And like those things, like you could just kind of put them on and sit back and put it on a big widescreen
yeah.
and and almost fall asleep. So is and you know is that something like is soothing or peace, or is that something you
Yeah.
specifically look for?
I guess so. Yeah, I haven't tried to make my channel about that per se, but I'm definitely about seeking like zen and peace, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty chill.
Well, because it's interesting that even the thing you chose to make is, I'm guessing it's loud, like the machine itself is loud, but there is something very circular and spinning and soothing and
There's something about spinning that is just like calming, zen. Yeah, yeah. There's something about
my career is basically like motion graphics. So, you know, that kind of like 2D, 3D and all that.
it.
So when I'm watching a movie, you know, it's certainly also in my younger days, when I'd watch a movie, it would drive me nuts, right? If I'm watching a show, I can see where the green screen is, I can see bad shots, I can see bad car driving scenes. And it really kind of affected my enjoyment on
Certainly.
things.
Yep.
So with your skill and all the skills you've kind of acquired over the years and your knowledge and just even an innate sense of when something isn't perfect,
Hmm.
does that ever does it ever bother you that it might affect your enjoyment of maybe a lesser fidget that most people kind of go, hey, this is really cool, click click click, and meanwhile you're like, nah, it's not balanced properly, it's not this,
Yeah.
there's this is out of whack.
Yep. Yeah. Certainly. I've definitely got a. I don't know. I'm pretty particular, I guess. Yeah. If something is not good or the tolerances suck and there's obvious room for improvement, I think it should be done. We have amazing tools and technology nowadays. Like I don't feel like there's any reason to not improve something that could be. If it's just blatant, yeah. Like I've gotten some bad fidgets. I'm trying to think of some.
What are you fidgeting with right now?
Wrapped.
Oh, okay.
I've tried to get the quiet ones out so they're not too loud.
So, but yeah, we were saying how in terms of it affecting your enjoyment of something.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Like I have to let go sometimes,
Yeah,
and
well,
just
that's the thing, right? And that's not an easy thing to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
What
That's
what what's a
yeah.
scenario, or do you even does one come to mind? And this isn't
Um,
to bash the
bearing,
product.
bearings and spinners. Whenever I like really got into bearings or really got into spinners and started swapping bearings and like really trying stuff, um, there's a lot of tolerances that vary in the same batches of bearings I found out. So like I bought a bunch for scepters and I bought a bunch for spinners for my own. And as I was testing them and figuring out what I liked, I found like there's some. Okay, everyone loves one drop bearings, or at least they used to. They were like in yo-yos and they were like super smooth and quiet and like had good tolerances back in the day when spinners were new. So I bought like 20 of them. It's been a little over a year ago for scepters. And of those 20, like I might have used 4 that I would have felt were acceptable for anything.
Wow. Would
And
anyone else have noticed?
see, I don't know. It was literally different tolerances between the races. So like I guess you've got some spinners, right? You know how you can feel the bearing play
Yep.
between the. It was drastically different between all of them, and so I couldn't use them in scepters because I make the tolerances between the spin cap and the handle so tight that the ones that were too loose they would end up scrubbing and rape or scraping on the handle, and there would be just a huge gap whenever you push it over to the side. So like I don't know. I think some people would have found those okay, but like it drove me nuts. I sold every one of them, like got rid of them. Told the people that they were like all over the place and I didn't like them for scepters, and I tested them, but I mean I got rid of them. Like they weren't good. Some other bearings I didn't like. If they would get a little dirty, I would be like really OCD about keeping them super clean, and so that's one of those things I've had to kind of let go a little bit and let bearings not be tops.
Right.
Or they're going to have their slightly different tolerances. They're not going to all be made to perfect precision. It's a mass-produced little precision item, so I just have to be okay with the ones that are good and just move on from the ones that suck. Yeah.
And unless you had two identical products beside each other with different bearings or with the same bearing but different tolerances, there's no way you would know. Like it's that thing too, where if I'm in a restaurant and I'm eating a $60 steak, it's an amazing $60 steak. You give me another $60 steak and it might taste completely different.
Yep.
Right. So they're not the same, but they're probably just as good to the person consuming it. Now the chef cooking the steaks might be like,
yeah,
you know, this isn't.
Yep.
I noticed in one video with the at one point I was watching with the Gambit coin, and you had mentioned that you made your own insert for it, your own top for it. Yep. So first of all, like that in itself is really cool that you're able to do that, right? Like you have that skill to just go, I'm gonna change this because I don't like it. Do you do that with other fidgets? Like, is that something that you're able to do, or is it only really the Gambit coin because it's circular?
So yeah, I can do circular stuff. I don't have a mill, so I can't do like, I want to say I can't do flat because I can do flat things, but it's all circular. Yep. I do not have a mill to do, like corners or rectangles or things like that. Yep.
So when you look at fidgets, if you're going to be buying new fidgets, do you kind of look at one ahead of time and go, oh, I could actually do something with that?
Spinners, definitely. I like making buttons. I can just make what I want. A lot of the times for buttons, there's not exactly what I want out there, or it's not made anymore, or it's like a stupid price. It's like, yeah, I like making buttons for sure. Most of 4 of my 6 spinners right here, I've made the buttons for.
How long does it take to make a button for a spinner?
I'm kind of new at it, but I've been doing it in like 2.5 to 3 hours for making a button set. I would definitely like to make that quicker. And I guess that's just like raw shop time.
Is there ever a point when you're making that, do you ever go, oh shit, I could be making a top right now?
Oh, absolutely.
So your channel now, when I first started watching you, one of the first things I noticed, and this is, and I always I say it's always smart to have something recognizable and sort of part of your brand in all the videos so that the user right away just kind of knows, oh, I know who I'm watching now. So one of the things I find with yours mostly is the case. You've always kind of got your case, your fidget case positioned in like the top. Here we're reversed, like the top.
Yeah, it's up over there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's always up there, and so I was always kind of impressed by that, and it's always a really interesting message right off the top, right? Because when I first started watching it, I mean, not to embarrass you in any way or something, but I saw it, I thought, oh shit, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like this must be, and so that sense of quality comes through even just from the way the case is laid out. Cool. So because you're doing that, I'm assuming you're doing like a lot of the rest of us, and when I include myself in that, I'm very young in this whole thing. But when you start, you kind of buy, and then you get to a point where you're like, if I want to keep doing this and I want to keep doing reviews, I can't keep buying because this is way too expensive. So with your, like I know you trade and you buy secondhand. Obviously you had a bunch of videos where you've traded with Mel. The one video that I actually loved to see because it felt so real was the sticky CP3.
Yep. So that one was like, someone found that one for me from a friend from overseas. So like that was a little bit different of a situation. I don't actually know who had that in the beginning. So I guess that's the only time I've really had like a bad experience buying something used. Everything else it's been okay.
And it's all cleaned up now? Like, did you get it?
Yeah, I got it cleaned up. It really took a while. I think it was the type of tape that they used, like
like a residue.
Yeah, like a residue, and then maybe during like shipping overseas, like the adhesive from the tape or something, like the slide tape was like seeped out. Like I don't know. It was
Wow.
really hard to get off, and it transferred onto everything that I touched for like 30 minutes before I really realized like how bad it was.
I will say though, I love that you included that
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
channel because it was such a real moment, right? For a lot of people. And it wasn't even like, oh, sorry guys, I got to cut because this one's got shit all over it. I'm going to do another video. Instead, it was like, okay, watch me try to figure out what this is
yeah.
and watch me try to clean it.
That
Because
was nuts.
that's you know, that's kind of a an important thing for people just getting into sort of the fidget world to know is that um you have to have stuff with you to be prepared to also repair the fidget, to maintain it. You
Yeah,
know, there's a
absolutely.
lot of tools and a lot of like little things. You just get them on Amazon or you get them wherever. I mean, you can get higher end ones,
Hmm.
but you do need things, right? Like you need
Yeah,
little like tool sets and wipes and at the very least just some alcohol and some, you know, like a clean cloth and stuff.
absolutely. Yep. That's why I always do everything here in the shop. It's already all here. Yep.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you've got like the ultimate fidget shop too. I mean,
Pretty much.
that would be a pretty cool. I'd love to see you do a video someday of just like a tour. You
Yeah.
know, here's where I do this. Here's where I
Yeah.
do this.
I
Walk
need to do
around.
something like that. Yep. Yeah, it's a mess, but yeah.
Yeah, people want to see the mess,
Yep.
right? Like you don't want to see perfect.
Nope.
So out of your collection, and I noticed. So at one point I saw, like early on, you had one case, right? You
Yep.
had like your one prime case, and then there was an update a while later. All of a sudden, you have three cases.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yep.
So let's talk about the jump there for one, because then that's going to lead into a question about what you prefer to carry, but not necessarily what your favorite fidgets are. But let's talk about the case first. So
Mhm.
that's a pretty radical jump going from one case to three. Did you always
So,
have the three, or you were just featuring the
so
one?
yeah, so I still only have one fidget case, I guess, and that's this one.
Okay.
It's just fidgets, and then I've also got another Pelican 1170 that's for tops. So that was, I think, pictured in that one where you saw three. And I have like two or three fidgets in there that they're more like showpieces or just really special things that I truly never use or carry. And I never really use or carry my personal tops either. So those just kind of stay in that Pelican case and don't get touched very often. I did bring them out for that video just to be like this is like all my crap or
Right.
picture whatever it was. And then that little yellow one, that's my wife's case. So like she doesn't collect a whole lot of fidgets, but she does like a couple. And so she's got 3, 4, or 5 that she'll cycle in and out of there sometimes that'll come out of like my main Pelican case. So I do still only have just the one, and that's all I allow myself to have. If I fill up the case and don't have any room for anything, then something's got to go.
Right.
If I want something new, I've always kept like a one case system.
I'm trying
So,
that, but on a much smaller. Like mine is a much smaller case.
oh, that'd be tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but it's also at my point right now. It's really you know, that's all I kind of use. Like I've sort of learned the same thing over the years. Like my records, I only have I've got like an L shape of albums, but that's it, right? That holds about 850 albums, and that's it. I can't go beyond that, or else I
Hmm.
have to get more shelves.
Yep.
So it's kind of that same limiting thing. And it's to your point. If I want new stuff and I run out of space, then I have to start getting rid of stuff.
Yep. Certainly.
And I find that there is a difference. That's the big difference between a collector and a user. Now you seem to be both, but I think it's also because you have a different intimacy with them because you also make them.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think there's probably a different appreciation for the art and design of something,
There is. Yep.
right?
Yep. I appreciate the heck out of them, and they're like self care too, like the fidgeting and like just I just enjoy them. Like it's just a simple beginning of day, end of day self care, like messing with my fidgets. Yep.
So your fidgets and your dog.
Yeah, 2 dogs, but yeah.
Your two dogs.
Yep.
Well, so that kind of brings me to what I was going to ask, which is which fidgets do you find yourself carrying the most? And not your favorites, because favorite is very different from what you feel comfortable you can bring out of your house.
So I do bring my favorites everywhere.
Okay.
Yep. But I don't have a favorite that doesn't have a leather slip entirely designated for it. So if it's not in my hand, it's in a leather slip, and then usually inside my fanny pack.
Okay.
And I mean, this is like how I EDC stuff, like always. Like any walk I'm on, any video I've ever shot while I'm out on the property or out and about, like a fidget has a leather slip, and it's always in the leather slip if it's out of the case, the Pelican case.
Wow. Now I
Yep.
noticed too, most of your walks are over grass,
Yep.
dirt, and things that
Not
are soft.
concrete. Yeah, I won't use the wrapped over concrete or something
Okay.
like that. That's just dumb. Like,
So if you go into, like, if you're walking through the city or something, or you're just downtown.
Yeah, I would be more mindful about which one I had. Probably wouldn't be using the wrapped, probably a track slider in that situation. Yep. If I'm
Something
going
that
to be
can't fall apart.
concrete. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Right. Well, you have a slider that you talk about that, right? The one with like the groovy swirls through it. And
Yeah, the copper and titanium one. Yep.
yeah, like you said before, like that's kind of, that was a gift and you're never going to get rid of it. It's not the best slider in the world, but
It's a slider.
that,
Terrible fidget. Like you literally push it to the end and the plate just falls off. Like
right.
the magnets can't even hold it together. It's terrible. It's pretty, and it was literally like one of my first gifted fidgets, so it'll never go away. A friend Adam Sherry gave it to me, but it's a terrible fidget itself.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's funny like that with a lot of these, right? And this also always kind of comes down to when I see a lot of reviewers, and there's always the conversation, and I had this conversation with Mel, which is uh, there are badly constructed fidgets, which are obvious, right? Like if it's bad, if the maker didn't give a shit and just put together a piece of junk, then that's bad. But outside of that, I feel like there aren't bad fidgets. It's just the perspective of the user.
Yeah, I
Right?
would say so.
Like what I like, someone else might not like, or what I find is just a bad fidget, someone else might love just holding in their hand. And I guess to your point too, um, the gift, in your case, a slider that Adam gave you, that in itself becomes not a great performing slider, but a great fidget because of what it represents.
Yeah, certainly. Yep.
Yeah. So there's definitely I can see that, like an emotional attachment for a lot of people, like, oh, this is my first, or this was my first big one, or this was whatever it was, right? Like this my partner gave this to me, or my kids love this one, and so I love it because it reminds me of my kids. So I'm definitely starting to learn that a lot more as I do this. So speaking to that, with fuck crones. So I think you're the only, or I should say at least, yeah, up until now, the only person I've heard of that actually has um, kind of a personalized statement of strength engraved into a fidget, which to me means you will never in your life get rid of that fidget. Like that's just something because it's so personal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The wrap is a true forever piece. It's never going anywhere. Yep.
And so just to be clear for somebody that hasn't seen the video, you have a wrap that you had Jonas at Motorsork make, and on the side, the engravings, and I'll actually put the link up, but the engraving says "fuck crones."
Yep. All four corners. Yep.
And so, do you think about that when you use the wrap anymore? Is there an added kind of?
Keeps my mind sometimes. I've definitely noticed that, where I'll just simply use it because it's pretty subtle. Like it's right there on the sides where I don't hold it very often or just look at it from the side. It's usually in my hand where I can see just the makume.
But if your fingers pass over it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at least once a day, yeah, I definitely see it. And I'm like, oh yeah, definitely fuck crones. Like
is that something, so that messaging is kind of interesting because that let you just kind of add like a statement of power basically to something that you use all the time. Would something like that, I'm assuming it would, but it would affect the balance of a top, like if somebody wanted a message around the edging?
Yep, it very well could.
Yeah.
I I think there's a couple makers that do have laser engravers, start top makers that do laser engraving on the tops. And I think if it's done evenly, it's okay. And usually it's probably not enough mass to maybe fully throw off a well-balanced top. But I think that is a possibility. They are sensitive enough to, if there was enough material laser removed from one side or another, it would absolutely spin poorly compared to not having it.
So it's not something you would take on then if somebody went to you and said, "Hey, can you put this message on here?"
Yeah, I actually don't know if I would on a top. It might be cool in certain situations. Yep. But I don't know. They're all so different too. A message I might not do on a top. That's just me. I'm a pretty like, I create for me, I guess.
Right.
At the end of the day, I really do. Like, yes, I'm so thankful for my customers, but I like creating for me. Like, I really, every time I make something, it's like, man, I wish I could keep that. Like, that's my goal every time I make something. Like, I've made plenty of things where it's just like, push it through, get it gone. Like, I made some money today. But like, when I'm really in, like, I don't know, like kind of in the zone, I'm making for me entirely. So I don't know if I would put someone else's personalized message on one of the tops, unless again, I guess it was some kind of custom order, but that's not something I do. So
Right.
I guess I haven't thought about it too much. Yeah.
This I'm always curious too about, because again, this is something that I started learning. So when I first started reviewing everything, I was like, okay, quick review. And now I've realized that your opinion can change, right?
Oh,
Over like a week or 2 weeks. And so with your stuff, do you have anything that you know that you, or that you can even remember, that you've completely like done a 180 on, whether you loved it and now you don't like it, or you didn't like it and now you really do like it?
as far as things in my fidget collection,
Yeah.
hmm. um, I used to not like tri spinners. Like, I mean, I had
Okay.
an original torque bar back in like 2017, so like I've really like had fidgets for a long time. I just haven't collected them like I do now until the last year or so. But I used to not like tri spinners at all. And I totally flipped on that. They're probably my preferred. I guess if I could just have one or the other, I'd probably pick tri. So that I definitely flip flop there. Um,
It's funny. They always make me feel like ninja stars, because like I was born in 72, right? So of course when I was a kid, everything was ninja.
yeah,
Like I was in karate, like we had karate magazines, everything was like, and in the back you always had like these stupid ninja stars and whatever else.
yeah.
So I can't not think of, like, I have this thing, and this to me is an
Oh yeah,
absolute like ninja weapon, right?
yep,
Like
absolutely. Yep.
this little time travel. This actually, Mark Chang, I
Mm-hmm.
bought a Loudy, uh I say Loudy anyways, or no, sorry, it was a Mackie. It was like the bit, I think it was a bit 2 maybe. Anyways, it was one of them, right? But it was in steel. And he threw this in for free because it was the
Nice.
first time I was buying off him. I sold the Mackie spinner. I keep this. Oh yeah, actually, I have the I have
I literally had the exact same story for Mark.
yeah.
I bought the 42 Cosmo like owl slider, and he gave me this as a gift. And like am trying to sell the owl. Well, like currently, sold pending funds, I guess.
Right.
Yep.
And the well, you know, it's funny you're playing with that. These the Gao square
Hmm.
is, it's the only thing I'm keeping now from Gao, because
Interesting.
I
I think I've
just,
ever had from them.
they're the internal structures of them are just, they boggle the mind, because the minute you open them, things go everywhere, and it's just trying to
Uh,
get them in.
the rice ball, right?
The rice ball,
I've seen Mel struggle a couple times with the rice ball. Yeah,
dude,
it's like
the rice ball, and there was another one I had too that I just I know, and a lot of people really love them, and I'd watch like a Dan Bruner video on them first to see it come apart. Um,
mm-hmm.
but I can't, I can't do them anymore, just because of how crazy, because the balls always stick to the magnets.
Yeah, it's that doesn't seem like a very good fidget in my opinion. If we're kind of go back on that, like I reviewed one of Melanie sent me one.
Yeah.
Like one of the coins. Yeah, that wasn't very good in my opinion. Even set up properly, like I messed with it off camera. Like that's one I would say is just not good. And I don't. I don't care what anybody says, I guess. Like,
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I found I had to take the bearing out of the middle to get that spinner
uh,
action so that it was a little easier to grip it, to turn it. When I
mhm.
did that, it helped a bit, but yeah, it's, and again, I know there are people out there that probably really enjoy it.
Yeah,
Um,
they need to experience better. That's the frame of reference is too small. Is all I can say.
yeah, I will say too, I haven't had a lot of experience with coins. Like this is my favorite coin, like the
Mhm.
milk cap,
Yep.
and I love it because of the texture and the grip just on
Mhm.
both sides. So I find that just like effortless, like
Nice.
brainless. That's my
Mhm.
one of my driving fidgets. Like I have a few that I take
Right.
in the car, and they're always, my rule with car fidgets is that they can't come apart in any way, and they
Yep.
have to have good grip so that
Yep.
nothing happens to them.
My car fidget right now. It's the one pal stone large.
Oh, I saw you reviewed that one and you really, really liked it.
I really do. I mean, this has jumped to like my number one track slider, pretty much.
Really? And it's
Yeah.
mechanical.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really good. I like it a lot. I EDC it with the wrapped and this little double leather slip every day since I've gotten it. It's been with me.
I'm on the fence with it because it is one of those, like I have a few other ones coming in. Um, I bought I did the sign up for the Big Ant design. So they did the comma and now they're coming out with the S Nano.
Hmm.
And so it's their slider. So like I signed up for that. I think it was like back in December or something. Like I went on, and it's supposed to be shipping. It was supposed to be shipping in March. Now we find out it's whatever, it's shipping now. But so I have a few things coming in that's making me hold off
Hmm.
on buying new stuff. But I did see when I watched your video on that, and I went through. So I've followed your channel since I started into this, but then all obviously, like, yesterday I was kind of going back and I was looking over stuff again. And when I saw that video again, I was like, oh shit. And so I looked it up. Like I was like, oh, maybe I should start looking at grabbing one. But it's so hard, dude. Like it's so hard to decide what is the next purchase because there are so many things and there's so many
Yep.
things coming out.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I guess maybe you see my posts and videos where I lay things out and kind of evaluate, categorize, like whatever you want to say, like that. It personally helps me a lot figure out like what's my favorite, what I really use, what needs to go. Like I don't know. It and it really helps open up to get a lot of new things because I can kind of knock things down the list and be like, all right, this has got to get out of here. Like I'm
yeah.
just not going to use this enough. Yep.
I'm like that right now with I was talking to Mel about this.
Hmm.
The Mag U.
Yeah, it's like a spinner magnet up and down kind of. I've never messed with one.
It's
I've seen it. Yeah.
it's weird. Like
Okay.
it's just odd. Like it's something I never, like, and it's so easy to fling it out of your hand and then it's heavy. So you have this almost like a solid metal golf ball slamming around your desk if you do it wrong.
Mm,
So that
that's not good. Yeah.
no, actually, you know what? I have a question for you then. As a metal guy,
Mhm.
um, are you aware of, or have you ever dealt with, the fact that certain metals will stain people's skin depending on their sensitivity to it?
Nothing that I use, I guess, or maybe okay, brass and copper. If
Mhm.
I've had some people want some rings made of those, even though I warned them like it's gonna corrode on your skin. Like
Right.
those do absolutely.
Because I do it with aluminum, so
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember
non-anodized,
your video. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, non-anodized aluminum, and I still have the chill pill sitting here. I love it. It's a great, like, I love the design. I love the concept of it.
Mhm.
It just kills me that I can't use it.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
if I do, it's like I'm really committing. Like it's like, okay, I'm gonna play with this and then I'm gonna have to wash my hands.
yeah, yeah.
So I just wasn't sure if, as somebody who works with metal, if that's something you've ever come across
Yeah,
or had insight into.
I don't work with aluminum a whole lot. I've probably made, I would say, less than 20 tops that have like aluminum grips or anything. So I guess that's one metal that I haven't had a whole lot of time to work with.
And are they
Yeah,
anodized when you do them, or is it just
no,
straight
no,
raw?
I do this raw. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So that's
And then,
that was a learning curve for me. It was like, okay, some metals actually
yep,
have an effect on your skin, depending on if you're the type of person to react to it, which clearly I am.
yep.
Okay, so this has been amazing, Gavin. Thank you so much for letting us into the Dynamic Inertia secret lab that's all behind you. I'm hoping at some point we'll get a full tour of it because I'd love to see.
Yeah, definitely need to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
Maybe another set of hands in here to like be over my shoulder or something, because
Yeah, well, ask your wife.
a lot of little things to show. So if I'm, well, she just started a new job like today, so might be a little tougher now, but yeah.
You could just be like, but babe, this is important.
YouTube
Viewers, it's content, man. It's all content. Okay, well, honestly, Gavin, thanks so much for giving me your time and giving your time to anybody else who's watching this. I mean, it's important for people, and I know it doesn't always feel like that to the creators or even just like people who run a YouTube channel, but viewers love to see who they're following and they love to sort of get to know the person. So it is important, and I appreciate that you gave me your time to do that. And so thanks so much, and hopefully we can catch up again down the road and see if you've added another case, if you've decided to go against to break your own sort of limitation of one case, and also just to see where things are at, and if
Yeah, I'd love to do this again. It's be awesome.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Gavin, well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.